Hi, I'm Andre The Beast Crayton, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to do an episode called The Expendables. That sounds good, don't it, Jason? The Expendables. It doesn't mean that we're old or anything like this. It just simply means that everybody that's on the show today, we all have something in common, and that common trait is we all are professional bodybuilders. So today's show is how we, each one of us, travel down that road to be a professional bodybuilder. The hard work we put into it, the struggles that we put into it, and more important, to shine a bigger picture on a sport that we have grown to love. I might call it the good, the bad, and the ugly, because now with social media, everybody that you see is bodybuilding. You know what I'm saying? Right. And let me introduce my guests, because I'm looking around. Let me introduce my first guest, Mr. Darrick Valentine, pro bodybuilder Darrick Valentine. Darrick, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to have you. Thank
we
you.
also have Mike, all the way from Columbus, Ohio, Arnold Schwarzenegger winner, Muscle Mania winner, Olympia champion, promoter and host of the Mike Francois Bodybuilding Championship in Columbus, Ohio. Let's welcome Mike Francois to the show. Mike, what's going on?
How are you guys?
Great. And we also have pro bodybuilder champion Andre Ewing from Cincinnati, Ohio. Dre, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, brother Dre?
Hey, what's going on? And last but not least, one of my favorite bodybuilders, definitely Mr. Brand himself, Mr. Skip Cour. Skip, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
All right, guys, so we're going to get this rolling. We're going to start with Darrick. And, hey, guys, feel free to chime in. You know, today is simply about, I call it the Expendables. I won't tell you, my role is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I didn't bring my cigar, but I'm going to let you guys pick your own character out. So we're going to start with Darrick. Darrick, take us down that road and tell us, the viewers, a little bit about yourself and your quick little journey into bodybuilding. Then we'll get more technical.
You know what? It seemed like it started so long ago. So the Expendables, I think that's an acceptable name for this group, because my journey started in 1986.
Right.
You know, I went to go buy a bodybuilding magazine because my mom gave me $5, right? And I looked at it, and I think Albert Beckles was on the cover.
Yeah. And
I told my mom, I said, hey, I want to look like this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it started. You know, that's how I got bit by the bug. So, I mean, it's been a up and down journey as far as bodybuilding is concerned. I think I think it's a road travel alone, you know. So it reminds me of that opening scene of Kung Fu.
Right.
Remember the TV show where you seen walking in the desert?
Yeah.
That's a bodybuilder.
Right.
You know, you walking in this desert by yourself, you know, just wondering where you're going to land, you know, as far as like, becoming a pro, just so many trials and tribulations that comes with it. And, man, you know, it's been a grind, but I think on the back end of the longevity, it has its residual effects. You know, I'm 50 years old, you know, and still, look like I'm 30.
Right.
You know, I look at Skip. Skip looks like he did when I seen him in magazines back in the day. I look at Mike. Mike still looks massive. It's all, Dre. Right. I mean, everybody still looks the same. So I think there's a residual effect behind it. So I think that the journey traveled, I think sometimes you land at a destination of peace.
Right.
You know what I mean? In what you've done in the sport.
Skip, tell me about your quick journey real quick.
Well, I started when I was 27, so I had a later start than most, and kind of just moved to a new town, a new city with a job. And actually, it took upstairs neighbor at the apartment that I lived in to get me to go to the gym. And, I was athletic before, but I said, hey, I had my weights. I had the Montgomery Ward cement weights on my back porch. I said, I don't need to go to the gym. But it was so strange because he picked apart, your biceps are good, but this and that and calves and how and I was going, what? Who looks at a body like this or whatever? Right. But because of the new town, I didn't know anybody. I just decided to join with him, and we became training partners, which was great because I didn't have to think about what to do, sets and reps, to just follow them. And I think that was a real key.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't have to try to figure it all out. And then, kind of took off from there. Had a lot of local low-level shows. So when I entered them looking great, but only after 13 months, I was in the money. I won, actually, right?
Okay.
Rather than going against guys who've been training 5 years or 10 years and getting 10th place, probably wouldn't be talking to you if they didn't have those low-level shows, right?
Right,
AAU back then,
Right.
right? So, and then just got caught. A lot of reasons, just got addicted to it and went on the journey that, we talk about, right? So, and all the steps before, during, and then especially after 17 years removed, it's been quite a journey.
Sounds like a winner. Now let's go to my boy Dre. Dre, tell us a little bit about your journey real quick before we get started.
Yes, sir. 0 to 60 just got started in bodybuilding from my brother. He was a power lifter, just powerful. And I was always looking at my brother and watching him on stage. And I was in the early, about 1992, 93.
Right.
And I didn't start taking it serious till about 94. And then I started competing. And then, of course, that's where we met in that journey.
Yeah.
And, Dre, I love you, but I had to smash you. You're still my cat. But, the genetics, everything, man, it just started to connect. And just from that point on, just meeting a lot of exciting guys. Like I remember doing Mike's show, and Mike would approach me and said, man, I want to say, I think when Mike actually, either the first or second show that he actually had, I did his show, and it was a great experience. And then from that point on, just started to admire people like Skip LaCour. I would see him in the magazines. And he did the Team Universe. It really put the team on the map. And it's a natural, drug-free bodybuilding. And it just started to inspire me to see somebody get that hard and ripped. You didn't really hear about conditioning.
Right.
And you saw it within Skip. And I said, okay, if I can reach that maximum potential, because they had a lineup back then of guys that was, a Tito Raymonds, and these guys was coming in shredded, and just on a natural level. So from that point, just the sky was the limit, and just meeting some great people along the way.
All right, Trey, we will come back. Now we got to go to the legend. The legend. This is Mike Francois. Mike, take us down a quick journey before we get started with questions and answers.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I was an athlete in high school, and so I lifted weights to just to get stronger for athletics. And I was out I was in every sport: wrestling, basketball, football, baseball, track and field. And then I got hurt my senior year. The old story: get hurt knee, couldn't play college football. That was my dream. And actually went to the seminary studying to be a Catholic priest for 7 years.
Right.
I worked out during that period of time in college and graduate school, but I didn't compete. And finally, met my future wife. Couldn't be a Roman Catholic priest, and because of that, and I started lifting more and started bodybuilding from then. It was I was 25 too, so kind of like Skip, where I did it later in life. So I think I was 24, 25 my first show, and then it just kind of compounded, started competing, had some success, and one thing led to another. Didn't have any intentions of being a bodybuilder or a pro bodybuilder, just kind of just happened. And so that's it in a nutshell. And then it went pretty quickly as a pro too, after some other things I'm sure we'll talk about later with the health. But
Mike,
my story.
I'm gonna ask you a question. What was the first show that you did? Because you said you just kind of like went into it. What was your first show like?
Well, there's one in West Virginia, and then the World Gym Classic, which kind of is transferred over to us now with our show. And then the Ohio Championships. So those are my first 3 shows I ever did as a bodybuilder. And then I went to the Junior Nationals that same year. I won, and Bob Lorimer said, "Well, you should go down and do that shows in New Orleans." And I said, just not really. My mind's not there. If I planned on shows a year ahead of time. I'm not one of those guys who can do it on the whim. I just want to be completely prepared. So I went down to New Orleans, and it was a Junior Nationals, and I got killed. I got Flex Wheeler was in the show. At the time, I didn't know who he was even. Flex Wheeler, Paul DeMeo, Jim Mentis, some other guys, and they didn't even win. A guy named Robert Rothrock from somewhere down south won. And
really?
So that's how tough a show.
Wow.
I think there were 30, 40 guys in the, I think it was a heavyweight. So it was nuts. And but it showed me what I needed to do to get to that next level and the kind of path I had to take if I wanted to get there. So that's what I did. So it's probably, at the time, it was horrible. I hated it. not doing well. But at the same time, it probably really benefited me in the sense that it taught me what I needed to do to move on.
So it kind of fueled you to move forward.
Exactly.
Because did you see at the junior nationals that the level of competition really, like Dre was saying, it really went to a different level that you probably wasn't prepared to actually see at the level that you was competing in the Midwest?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just, I went down there only because they thought I should go down but it, it did. It taught me that, the best guys out there are really good, and I needed to, I guess not step up. I was training hard, but it just shows you that you have to even go harder and do things, different from other people and work your rear off to get there.
Dre, let's go back to you. What was one of your toughest shows that you had to do that kind of woke you up and you was like, man, I really need to step my game up? Or when did you realize that you had to step your game up in the sport?
It actually was the junior nationals. Because locally, I was winning a lot of shows. But the first time I went to the junior nationals, I want to say that was maybe early 2000, about 2000 or so. It was a wake-up call. Because that year, you started to see the guys are coming in with conditioning, hardness, symmetry. And now it really comes down to being able to separate yourself from the group. And you got call outs where you got 40 people in one show, and the judges, we dealt with a lot of the politics of the sport.
We're going to talk about that.
They don't know who you are coming in. You better know exactly, you better be that standout guy. But if you just look like anybody else, right, you're going to do your presentation, and then we'll see you next year.
That's crazy. Yeah. Skip, what do you think about you? Let's address Skip with the same question. Skip, what was it like for you with your first show? When did you realize that you had to step your game up, that the playing field was different? You went into local levels, you're going to a couple shows now. When was it reality set in for you?
Yeah, I would say, fortunately, genetics, again, starting later, you're more mature, especially in natural bodybuilding. The older you got, the better you were, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had, I think I pretty much cruised, especially looking back where, I did pretty well. And again, fortunately, I didn't jump into shows where they had guys who've been training for 10 years when I was training for 1 or 2. So I think that helped. I think that, you mentioned the team universe. I did that 10 straight years in a row, the first 10 years.
Wow, really?
Every year. And I appreciate the fact, that was a lot of sacrifice, like we all did.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it was my first real taste of a setback. And that was when I came in 5th place in my class. And that was in 1997. All right. Mm-hmm. So I had won the class before. I was on the Mr. Universe team. And again, I got to carry the mantle and write about the whole Team Universe experience. Now I came in 5th place, and I was told that I really tied for 5th place. And if I wasn't me, actually Mike Cap said, if it wasn't me, I'd be watching the show from the audience after winning the class. So that was the toughest year of my life. I had just quit my job.
Really?
So if you remember back in those days, Tony Robbins did an infomercial. Yeah. Right? How I did his program, and I quit my job to chase my dreams. Well, the first year after chasing my dreams and quitting security of my job, I came in 5th place, and I thought I was washed up. And if you remember Ronnie Alcatraz Coleman, I had a guest posing with him in Connecticut, and I felt like I was done. I better become an ambassador more than anything. He said, no, you're just not lean enough. Right. And so I dieted pretty much, that whole year. Mm-hmm. And then I got so shredded by the end, I couldn't even believe myself in the mirror, right? And so, remember that 98, it shocked me, it shocked everybody. And then I had that standard forever. It's just interesting, like what people say about that conditioning, back then. Now all the natural bodybuilders are that shredded if you look at it, right? Yeah. So I kind of like to think that I was the Roger Bannister. I ran the first 4-minute mile, and then everybody thought they could do it, right? Because like if you go to a natural show now, all 5, they might not be big or full.
Yeah, but they're
all
shredded.
5 of the top 5 are just crazy shredded with glutes and everything like that, right? So that was probably my biggest setback. That was a very tough year, but like Mike said, when you're challenged, when you got your back against the wall and there's no way out, you see what you're totally truly made out of. So,
Darrick, take us
Oh,
down.
right?
Take us down that road. Your first show and what it was like. When did you wake up and say to yourself, "Wow, this is definitely a different beast"?
I would say it wasn't my first show, because my first show I did fairly well. You know, I was only 16. You know, and I think, you know, I look at, you know, a lot of guys that have like good genetics, you know, that are just built for the sport. You know, it was like one of those things where I didn't have a rude awakening until it was my last year I competed as a teenager. I was competing against like grown men, like in that division. And back then, you know, 88, 89, you know, it was, you know, you're from here, it's not a lot of gyms. So everybody would see everybody.
All the time.
Everybody would see, you would see everybody you would compete against.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I wasn't, you know, my mental game wasn't strong back then. So, you know, I knew I was bigger and I knew I was better than everybody else, but I didn't feel that way. So we went to go to the show, I competed against a guy I went to high school with. And he knew the promoter, he knew the judges, and he knew everybody. That was when I got my first taste of like the politics of the game.
Right.
You know, they went to dinner the night before. You know, and I'm sitting up there thinking I'm a shoo-in. I'm about to smash this show.
Yeah.
And then I got like third, and I was like, oh wow, oh so I need to be 10 times better than best.
Right.
You know, I need to be better than my best.
Right.
Every single time. So even when I tell, you know, clients, athletes and stuff that I work with now, you have to be undeniable on stage.
Right.
Where when you step on stage, when you walk out, they're like, oh, that's a wrap. You know, and you know it. Even when you're back here pumping up and you're eating your rice cakes and stuff like that, everybody's looking at you like, oh, this dude's gonna kill this show. And you need to go into every show. So I was always looked at myself as like, I got to go in and kill it every single show. It's like once I got the taste of like the mental side of the game and the politics, I was like, that's a wrap.
There he is. That's a wrap on that one right there.
I was like, that's a wrap, man. I got to do my best every single time. So I think it was when I was early on, when I was real young, to see that I got to be undeniable every single time I step on stage. So.
Hey, let's go back to Mike. Let's talk about a little bit of the.
Put my glasses on to see that. That looks good.
Thank you, sir.
Let's show some pictures of Mike real quick. Mike, I'm gonna ask. Let's talk about the political side of this sport. We got the NPC, we had the AAU, we got the IFBB. Now we have another organization that's all natural. But the more I know, we can all share this view. It is very political driven. Mike, have you experienced this political side? Because naturally you had success at a very rapid pace. How quickly did you have to adjust to the bureaucratic side of the sport?
What politics? There aren't politics, are there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I won't name names, but there was a show I went to. Actually, it was my second year of competing. Before I did the Muscle Mania thing, there's one down south. I won't even say what show it is, but there's a guy who runs a show. I'm not sure. He may still run it. It's been there a long time. And there are two guys in my weight class that were it's one of those shows, like we were saying earlier, people said, oh, you got this. I mean, it's going to be your show for sure. And it was down in Florida. And I'm never one to say, yep, it's I just don't do that. I mean, it makes me focus even more, actually.
Who was that guy? Holy crap. Is that Mike?
Wow.
So I went down there, did the show, ended up not only not winning my weight class, but getting third in my weight class. And then the guys who won my weight class, the guy who won didn't even win the overall. They gave it to a lighter, more aesthetic guy who was good friends with the promoter, let's just say.
How did that make you feel?
And it gave me my first taste right off the bat. I almost quit. I almost just said, you know what, if this is what I'm not sure I want to do this. My trainer, at the time, I don't know if you guys remember Greg Gonzalez.
Yeah.
So Greg just said, "Are you nuts?" He said, "Is you going to be like that? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to let him get you like that?" And so my wife chimed in on that same thing. So it fired me up in the end and made me work even harder again. But it was sour taste from that. I don't like that. I mean, it should be. I don't care if I'm judging a show and I don't know the guy up on stage. If he's the best, he's the best.
Right.
And that's the way I look at things. I mean, and it's unfortunately, it's a subjective sport. It's not like any of those other things that we've done in the past where, if you run the fastest, you win. If you lift the most, you win. whatever it is. And so, but you have to, if you want to be a participant in this, it's part of it. And, for whatever reason, and that's just the way it is.
We're going to come back and ask another question to you, Mike. Skip, tell me about the time that you felt the political sting of the sport.
I have to say that if anything, I'm just being honest, I think I benefited because I would be the guy making all the connections. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the year before the Team Universe, I was all excited the year before when they announced it and all the opportunities. And so, I saw where Jim Manning and Sandy Ranelli, they were going to be the head judge of this big show out this way, the Seattle Emerald Cup.
Right.
And so I sent them letters. I said, hey, I don't really plan on winning this show, but it's months ahead of this Team Universe that I'm going to be competing at. If you could just take a look at me and give me some pointers, you know what I mean? So I got in their head beforehand, and I did that show. I happened to come in third place or whatever. It was a great show up there. It was non-tested, but I went there for that chess piece move, you know what I mean? So I think I made it work for me, you know what I mean? And I don't have a lot of experiences where, be honest, that I feel I got ripped off or cheated. I mean, I don't know, it could be a mindset too, but I didn't win every show either, right?
But you knew how to, you knew, like you said, you knew how to market yourself before the show actually took place, more or less.
Yeah, I think that, again, a lot of the views of what guys had is that, I just knew you had to work people as people.
Right.
We're not as logical as we think, and you're not going to just sit back and reward. It doesn't work that way. I guess I just kind of knew that. And again, entering at 27, first show at 28, I guess I just, and I worked my way up the ladder of this grocery store chain, so I had to be an adult young in life, so I just kind of took a different approach.
Dre,
I always kind of worked that people angle, right from the beginning, and still to this day, right?
Right. Dre, take us down the road where you felt the political sting.
I mean, actually, the first political sting that I felt was actually at the Team Universe.
Okay.
What was interesting, prepping at the Pittsburgh, you really were able to see a lot of political steam in that whole arena because, the Pittsburgh always had the reputation, is who you know there. And so Mike Davies, my nutritionist, would always try to get me at the bigger shows so they at least say they know who you are coming up on that scene. So when I did do the Team Universe, and it's interesting, 2001, we talking about Tricky Jackson was up there. I don't think you did that show. You did do it.
I did do it. Yeah.
You did. And I came in as just this newcomer, and the whole day, all they talked about was me and Tito Raymond because I knew he was the middleweight that I had to go up against.
Right. And
I prepped for that show, came in razor tight. And Tricky said, Dre, I think you got him, Dre. He said, man, it's gonna be tough. But it was the politics that they wanted a repeat
right.
of that whole arena of who won last year, and they was going back up. Right. So that political scene, man, it really affected me because even Tito, when we went back door, he was like, what's your name again? I said, Andre of Cincinnati. And, it was like I was just targeting him the whole year at the Arnold Classics. Yeah. I seen him in the elevator. I said, man, I'm Andre Ewing. I'm coming after you. So, man, that show, man, the politics, that stung hard because I wanted that call out. That 1-2 call out.
Everybody wants that call out.
I wanted to just blast it. They didn't give it to me. So, till today, brother Dre, I'm a little hurt from that, man.
We're gonna talk about the hurt. We're gonna talk about the hurt in a second too. Darrick, take us down the part where you felt the political sting.
It would have to say, once you get on that national level, you like Dre said, you have to. And like Skip said, he just played politics.
Right.
Think about it. If you think about politics, there's two sides to the game. If you want to say Republican, Democrat, or whatever, it's two sides of the game. Either you be played by the politics, or you play politics.
Right.
And then once I start, I'm on that level, I start noticing you shaking a few more hands from year to year. From year to year, you're shaking like the next year you come back and you get a little nod or a wink or a head nod. What's up, man? You like, oh man, did Phil Heath just speak to me? Did someone speak to me?
Right.
And you see that. But I think once I got on that side, like I said, what the Skip was talking about, is that, my mindset changed. I wasn't going to be played by the politics. I was going to play the politics, and I was going to shake a few more hands. I was going to get to know a little bit more people. I was going to send a few, like Skip said, I was going to send some letters to some supplement companies or to people I know, or ask a coach, hey, can you put some eyes on me real quick to see what I look like?
Right.
And you just I think you just have to play both sides, because at the end of the day, after prejudging, if you didn't get that first call out, you might as well go and eat a couple extra rice cakes.
Hey, Jason, did somebody else chime in with us on the show?
No, that was some other chime somewhere else.
Okay, Mike, I'm gonna ask you a question. Is Mike still with us?
I'm here.
Mike, your pro debut happened pretty quick. Was your first pro debut actually the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic?
No, my first one was 94, the Chicago Pro Show, and then the weekend after that, I think it was the weekend after, it was the Night of Champions.
Okay, I remember that.
And then the next year I did the Arnold, and then the San Jose right after that. I didn't do the Olympia in between though.
When you did your first pro show, were you still like considered an unknown? Because get real, you just competed on the national level with I hate to say it, one of the best bodybuilders genetically that I've seen outside of Dre. I'm gonna give you props, Dre. Flex Wheeler. But you wind up succeeding to win the Arnold Classic. What was that like for you?
So beating Flex?
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah, it was, at the time, it's just I don't mean this in any flippant way, but it's just another competitor up there. I mean, you don't look at him as Flex Wheeler, because I think you're in trouble if you do that.
Right.
Because the guy wins shows just standing there.
Right.
I mean, it's just boom. And that's Chris Aceto, who helped me along the way. You just say Flex just standing there wins shows, just because that shape and symmetry he has, and muscular, everything. But so I didn't really look at it as being Flex Wheeler after the fact, and now looking back at it and all these years, and it's pretty cool to have said, you beat the guy a few times, and because I truly think genetically he's heads and tails above, I think, everybody even still to today. So it's unfortunate things have happened with his leg and things since, but he's a phenomenal bodybuilder.
What's it like to win the Arnold Classic and meeting pretty much the godfather of bodybuilding and walking away with that trophy in the background? Yeah,
it's it's a great feeling. Again, it's just for me. I was so focused, probably overly so, that my mindset was just it's another show. You got to be at your best and do your best, but then afterwards, like for instance, Arnold at the time married to Maria Shriver. I remember they were saying, hey, Maria, or Arnold's wife, wants to meet you. You're a good Catholic boy who's studying to be a priest, because she was a Catholic. And,
right.
And I'm thinking, okay, I go over there to meet her. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's Maria Shriver. And it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Standing right here and talking. My mom and dad are there getting a picture with him, and my wife, of course, and before we had our kids. And so that part of it's more the backstage stuff and that kind of thing was kind of neat, things you remember a little bit more than on stage for me.
So, I remember meeting you at the Muscle Mania tour, and it's funny how people from our past have a tendency to leave a lasting impression. And I remember when you showed up in Chicago, you was the most humble giant. And it just impacted me because you wasn't arrogant. You was like just willing to help everybody feel comfortable and at ease. And I remember that time because Muscle Mania was almost like the the new lead to the Team Universe and all these other new contests. But to go back to a quick question before we go to the other guys, a priest going into bodybuilding, what is that like?
Well, it's such a big part of my
everybody's
life.
Laughing now. Everybody's laughing.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't quite a priest. I was a year away, actually, but it takes 8 years. I was in my 7th year. But weight training was just such a big part of my life that I didn't see it as a big deal. To me, it was just part of me and part of what I did. And so when I went to the seminary, I continued to work out in the gym, and then when that ended, I started doing it more. So to me, it was no big deal. I think it was for other people to see it was a stranger thing, because I don't think you see a lot of priests. Although I know quite a few myself,
right?
Having been in the sport, but in general, yeah, not the most fit people usually.
Hey, Skip, I got a question for Skip. Skip, you was definitely the guy that was probably a little bit ahead of your time. You were getting the endorsements. You wasn't doing a lot of bodybuilding shows, but you was able to really play the system. So tell me one of the shows and that impacted you so much, and what was it like to be one of the young amateurs to get major deals with major supplement companies?
Yeah, see, I think most of the attitude back then, it's a lot different with social media, all right, is that I kind of had a social media attitude before there was social media, meaning that I had to take it into my own hands, because the traditional way, the thinking, and everything was so slow, because you get results from the magazines 3 months later, there wasn't all this communication. And so I guess the belief was that you would win the contest, work really hard in your dungeon and cave. You'd come out, with your hoodie, you win the show, and then people would just come to you and give you opportunities. It wasn't like it never was like that at all. I mean, if you were so outstanding, I guess that could happen, but it was all about relationships and planting a seed. And, I'm sure, well, I guess I shouldn't assume this. I mean, one thing I did, I heard Dre talking about, is I went through all the magazines, saw all the addresses of all the companies, wrote them a letter. I try to personalize as much as I can with pictures. And I said to every single supplement company with who I was and the progress pictures. I mean, I would say most of them didn't even answer back. Some of them were kind enough to say, hey, we're not interested. And then like 1 or 2 out of the 50 companies at that time would send, or in clothing and exercise, and I was always working at it. It's a funny story, Mike, is that, so I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, where Champion Nutrition.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Right. And really great people. And they just loved me because I worked it, even though I was just the local guy, the natural body. And I'm sitting in their office. And these guys, and I can't remember their names, I guess.
Mike Zumpano and Greg Pickett.
Mike Zumpano and they wanted me so bad to come on board. Now they gave me free supplements, but at that time I was with AST Sports Science and I wanted like a real deal, right?
Yeah.
But their heart was just broken because they had this, they loved you, Mike. they developed you, and then right when you hit it, you went to the greener pastures, right? And they totally, I just was in there because they totally respected what you had to do, but you were their guy. Yeah. They loved you, right? Yeah. And because they loved you so much, they just said, we're not doing it again. Like I met this great girl who liked me, but she was never going to fall in love again because she had her heart broken by Mike. I remember that distinct day. But it's all about.
Good story. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they loved you.
Though. I mean, they were awesome people, as you know, and I would have loved to have stayed with them, but Weider just offered way too much. Yeah. I mean, they were. It was great. I had a great contract with them, but when Weider can triple it,
But they totally respected you. Like I said, they loved you as a person. But they knew they were a big company. There weren't as many big companies, but you were their guy. You hit it big, and then you went there. But the point is I'm sitting in their office, and they basically said, we're not doing that again.
Sorry about that.
No. I just thought that it's just funny how the question you right now. So, but they totally respected you, totally loved you, and they're great people.
Oh, Oh yeah, for sure they were.
Speaking of that, Dre, let's go to Dre, real quick. We had a discussion, Dre, and we was talking, which we're going to go back to Mike and Darrick on these questions too. Contracts, bodybuilding, and future. Let's go with Dre with this. What was some of the disappointing things that you seen happen in your career, Dre, and Darrick, that really made you second guess bodybuilding as a profession? What did you see not transpire that you thought should have transpired, Dre?
Well, it was as if here we are, these artists. We are, the ones that can get the record deals done. And so you see that a lot of bodybuilders were exploited in such a way that every year you're just trying to get on that stage to win that show. So if you're not in the top, basically, if you don't win that show, hey, come back next year. We don't care if you spent, thousands of dollars to get here for one show. You done prep for 12, 16 weeks, come in at your best, and they telling you, we'll see you next year. And so financially, unless you just had a lake of money, you talk about the food expense, the supplement expense, the travel expense, the fees that you would have to do to get into the shows. It would take a lot that you wanted those type of endorsements. And usually the endorsements would not come with a lengthy financial purse. So it was just interesting that, when you look back on it now, you kind of wish that there was what I call like a union. Okay. Like the guys who did say paved the way say, hey, look, we're going to start like a union so you don't get, say, treated a certain way. We're going to try to get you these special contracts and to make sure it can be a lucrative, enhancing business for everyone. And so just over time, man, you see how I can put a lot of mental damage on you just going through that history of constantly just competing. And the family that you have, your family goes through a lot too.
Yeah. Do you find that might have been one of the impact reasons that a lot of us kind of prematurely stepped away from the sport? What's your opinion on that, Dre?
I think it absolutely is. You do reach a certain point where you just have reached a point, part of your life's journey where you're saying, well, you know what, this is enough. Because there has to be more. You don't want to, and we all respected Ronnie Coleman. He's doing so great, say financially, but look what it costed him in this process. Mm-hmm. That trying to reach that elite status every single time. That here it is. You're the best at the game, but this process has taken you to a point where it just damaged you. And you don't want to be able to. You want to be able to go through the sport and look as good as Skip, and still look as good as Francois and brother Darrick, and we're actually fortunate and blessed, right? Because the way the things with diet and nutrition and the mental health of things that need to be explained today, it's interesting because they would say back then, yeah, you are killing yourself. Yeah,
Darrick, what do you got to say about that? The political side, the financial misgains and so forth.
You know what? It's kind of like and listen to everybody speak. The bodybuilding is kind of like a multi-level marketing scheme. And the reason why I say that is because it's kind of it's comparable to like a sport like tennis or hockey. Sports you can go into early and be successful early. You can go from doing a local show to a national show to a pro in 3 shows. So I think from a monetary perspective, you put more into it monetarily than you get out of it. Right. I think I go back when I did the Eastern USA in '96. Right. I go up there and I think Orville Burke. I don't know if you guys remember Orville Burke. He won it in '95. So in '96 he was the guest poser, and I'm looking at this guy like this guy's gigantic. Mm-hmm. I need to step my game up. But then after that garnered me a couple handshakes and a couple phone calls, and then I was able to get with like Twin Lab. You know, and back then, you know, we didn't have social media, so no one knew I was with Twin Lab and I had something. They sent me some paperwork, I signed it, and I got a box of supplements every single month. But then to come in the next month, toward the end of that year, I damaged my shoulder, so I had to get my shoulder scoped. I couldn't compete the next year. They said, "Oh, well, all right, thank you for, you know, being part of Twin Lab," and that was a wrap. You know, and that hurt my feelings because I thought now that I got people paying attention to me, that I was going to be, that I made it. I made it to the pinnacle. I'm getting people to notice me,
right?
You know, and it kind of is disheartening because, you know, you want to garner more from the sport because, you know, you go in there and grind blood, sweat, and tears every single day.
Yeah,
you know, you spend thousands and thousands of dollars. But like I said, the reason why I make us comparable to multi-level is because, like, you put so much into it. You know, you getting that. You know, you put money into it every single month, and you're trying to go out here and get people to notice you and be subjectively judged on stage. And you want something, you want it to love you back.
Right.
You know, you really just want the love back. And a lot of people do. You look at, you know, I look at Skip and look at Mike. I see you guys in the magazine, man. I was like a huge fan because, you know, you guys, that was like the top. So I had to keep climbing and clawing to get to the top. And like I said, sometimes you're met with a lot of disappointment. And you just gotta. I think it makes you tougher in the sport as a bodybuilder because you know you're still working hard at it, although you get disappointed sometimes.
Mike, I'm gonna ask Mike a question. Mike, you definitely out of all of us have reached the top pinnacle. What is your take on the financial side of bodybuilding? Because let me rephrase this. We all of us that's on the show right now, and the reason that you guys are on this show with me is because I have a strong relationship with you guys. And I've always been one that embraced this sport. I love this sport. I've been doing it since I was 18 years old, retired when I was like 40-something. And I still embrace it. But I can't help but to wonder where the sport's going. You know, definitely, I think that it needs to be restructured. We need a union. If we didn't have a career outside of bodybuilding, and I think that's what makes us different. Skip knows how to market himself. Dre is a police officer still in Cincinnati. Darrick has always worked for a major company as well as his own company. And Mike, you've already been self-sufficient. So let's go back to Mike for a minute. Were the financial gains worth worth the outcome, Mike, is what I'm saying? And
go ahead.
And do you feel like for what you put in, did you get back more from it? And if you didn't, what would you have wanted to see? Because get real, if you turn pro, I won't mention the guy's name. Dre knows who I'm talking about. He came to me and was like, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. And my first thing to him was, when you turn pro, what are you going to do? Because if you don't place in the top 2, you're not making no money. And the ideal is to make money. So what did you see happen when you turned pro? Did you see lucrative financial rewards?
I was lucky, quite honestly, and Skip in the sense of him not having to, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was some of the effect where he was on the positive side of the political thing. The contracts, I had a company that came to me when I was still an amateur and gave me a contract, and then Champion after that, before I turned pro, gave me a contract, and then it would be renegotiated if I turned pro, and then I turned pro, and then they gave me percentage of if I won, they gave me, I can't remember what the percentages were, but 40% more of whatever I won in contests. So if I won the show. And so then I was with Champion for 2 or 3 years, and I was with Weeder for a few years. So I cannot say that who could put a price tag on, should I've gotten more? I don't know. I mean, the Arnold Classic was $100,000 a year I won. I think that could always be more, than it was when you look at the expo and the size of that, what it's grown into be. I think the prize money could be greater. And the contracts now, from what I'm hearing, I'm kind of unplugged a little bit from all that, but what I'm hearing is it's more this, like Skip was saying earlier, with social media, it's more that who has more friends and likes and all that kind of thing than it is how good of a bodybuilder they are necessarily. And people tell me stories too about being at the expo at the Arnold, which I don't really go to too much, quite honestly, anymore. But they'll say things like, yeah, you'll have a very well-known bodybuilder in one line with, 100 people waiting in line, then have a internet guy has never competed, have, 900 people or 1,000 people in the line. So I don't know. It's just, it's a strange thing. And like you said, something's got to change. I think the bodybuilders should be awarded more. You talk about the unions. I remember I wasn't part of this, but I think it was a little bit before my time, but I remember him talking about wanting to form a union one year. All the guys who were ready the night before the show to say, we're not going to do the show unless we get a union. And I can't remember what benefits they were supposed to get. But the minute they walked out of that meeting and everybody had agreed in that meeting to do it, I think it was Wayne D'Amelia said, yeah, I got a call, 5 minutes after they came out of the meeting saying, hey, they're going to say they're not competing, but I'll be there. So no one's there's no loyalty there. If you could be the only one, you're going to go and take the prize money and go home. Right. So, so that's kind of where it gets selfish. It's kind of like golf, right? You can have your prize money, which is awesome in golf, but you can also have your sponsors on the side. So it's kind of structured that way. But somehow I think there's got to be more, whether even maybe it's health insurance you can buy through the IFBB, the NPC or whatever at a better rate than it is, and they'll supplement part of that, or just something to show there's some, I guess, give and take with it, instead of, what on our side, it's going to seem like all take, right?
Right.
Because it's without the bodybuilders or the competitors, whatever it is, bodybuilding, whatever, there's not a sport. So, and I can't say the other side doesn't want to do it. It's just maybe they don't know how to, for sure, what to do or how to make it happen. So it could be something that could be negotiated, and I think it would be a great thing for the sport, and it would take it to a whole nother level and get a whole nother group of people involved in it probably.
Hey, Dre, can I ask Mike a question?
Yeah.
Mike, have you ever gotten paid for just showing up from, say, the Arnold Classic or what have you? Did you have money up front for just saying, hey, because you're doing our show, we're going to give you this much money?
I never on the back end, yes, not on the front end, no.
Okay, and that's what I'm kind of saying on the middle, like I say, a promoter, just to even get somebody to come do your show, because Mike is such an attraction. You got this bonus for even just doing our show up front, and not on the front end, something that's there, but not on the back end. And see, those are the things that we don't think about that would say cover your blood, sweat, and tears to even step up on the show, because a lot of people just show up because they wanted to see the Flex Wheelers, the Skip LaCour.
We're going to be done in 10 minutes.
The Ronnie Coleman. They just showing up just to see those bodybuilders anyway. So if they don't show up, where would your show be?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I tell you guys, my look on this, and I'm 17 years removed in a lot of ways, all that blood, sweat, and tears. I feel like I'm still recovering, trying to pull like that focus, that dedication. I'd say that willpower, focus, energy, and time that it took to become that bodybuilder. A lot of people don't like this term. And if they do, they put a softer, it's an addiction for us to do all that.
Right.
Right. And it takes that to be great. Right. I did it from 27 to 41. And you know what they say, if you have an addiction, because, it's not easy to do all that, schedule all your thoughts, your thinking to look that great. They say when you're in addiction, the rest of your mind, it doesn't develop.
Right.
You put it on the back end. And that's 15 straight years of that. And you got to pick it up later. It's like 41 years old. You got to put your life together. And it doesn't just snap overnight just because you're not entering shows. There's so much that we give up for that. And this is the part that, I know it sounds kind of fun, because I didn't make Mike Francois money at all. All right. What I did, I got a little bit of money. It's better than no money. And then I wrote articles and I sold nutrition programs. I hustled from that. Right. Money came from, writing books and learning Microsoft Word programs. I won't tell you, but there was a guy, he was a niche guy, kind of like me, and he was a great poser. All right. And so he wasn't a pro, but he just, he had his little niche within this niche. And so there was a writer, Rosemary Hollum, if you remember her, from the magazines, and she saw all the hustle that I was doing. She said, hey, can you talk to this guy? because you're doing so well, and he wants to, do things too. And I remember I said, sure, anything for you, because, she would help me write my articles, and I would pay her or whatever to proof it. And I remember talking to him, and they said, well, how do you do those books? And I said, well, I get a Microsoft Word file, and I do this and I do this. And I can almost feel his eyes rolling back in his head, like, I'm not going to do all that. Right. See, that's how I made my money, doing value, learning technology. I had ebooks before there was such a thing. I had instant videos before there was YouTube. And that's a whole skill set that has nothing to do with bodybuilding. That's how I earned my money. And let me just tell you this, and it may sound a little arrogant for me to say, but Mike, you made a lot more money than me, it sounds like. All right. I don't care. There's not enough money. There's not enough money that you can get paid to make up for that.
Right.
For what you put into it. It's not enough. So what if you got 50,000, 100,000? I don't care. All that money is gone, and you still have to pick up your thoughts in your mind later. Right. All Flex Wheeler's money's gone. You're right. Or whatever, right? It doesn't matter what that amount is that you want. What we sacrifice, there's not a dollar amount that any business can pay you that would be worth it. And I can say that looking back now.
Guys,
right? So you think that this amount would help out. It's not, it's never gonna, for what you sacrifice to look that way, that money part is just gonna be a little drop on a loss. It's a net loss. You gotta find a way to provide value with that body, with that admiration, and sell it with some type of value to somebody else. Because they're, and it is, it's interesting too. The promoters, back when I competed, they would lose money. They did it because of their heart. So they can't pay you at that time. I mean, what's saving the promoters, making them money, is because, you got all these fitness competitors, these all low level, they can do a show with just 6 months of training, which is great for them, but it's great for the promoters. I think for the first time, they're really making money. When we did it, they were losing money, so they can't give you the money. Here's another thing is that, you think the supplement companies, they're using our image, we're selling the product. Man, and I'll tell you from this other end, that's a whole business, risk versus reward. Those supplement companies, when they make that money, you have no idea the risk in all the companies that start to even have money. So I know how we see it, but two things. One, they can't pay you enough money for what you're sacrificing, the quality of your life. And that's not kind of how business works, right?
Derrick, what do you think about Derrick, what do you think about about the situation?
Well, what Skip was saying, it was interesting. I was at a show that Sean Ray was guest posing at, and I remember he had I guess he had an assistant or whatever. He had his bag and he had this box and he had a whole bunch of like 8x10 pictures, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm looking at the box, like, what's in the box? And there were just pictures, like his likeness, right? Right. And he said it was $25 for a photo and then $30 for a signature. And I'm looking at him like, oh wow, is that how we, as pros, is what we have to do? You got to do that. So it was a letdown,
wasn't it? It was a letdown,
right?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. So I was kind of like, wow, you got to grind harder than the gym.
Yeah.
You got to do more. So I just, he looked at me, because Sean was kind of, I don't know, to me he was kind of an asshole when I first met him. I was like, man, I don't like Sean Ray, but he said you have to parlay this into something else.
Right.
He said you have to stretch this because you're not going to be able to compete forever.
Right.
You're that look or that image that people fall in love with or enamored with when they see you on stage. You have to stretch that. And I looked at him like, wow, I didn't realize you had to. I thought we just worked out with weights, eat protein, and dieted. I mean, I didn't know it was more to it. But once again, I think there's residual effects from bodybuilding. Like I said, I'm sitting here at 50 years old, and I look better than 20-year-olds right now. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it gave me residual effects. It gave me something on the back end that it's not what I put in there as a reward, but it's kind of like the little prize at the end. You know what I mean? Because like, damn, I'm 50 and I still look good. I'm still healthy. Mike still looks massive. Skip, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, Mike, no matter how you look now, you're still gonna look like Mike Francois that walked past me at the Chicago Pro. But right. I was like, wow, look at his quads. Yeah. Okay, that's the, but Skip, I looked at him as like a natural guy. Like, wow, I want to be like him. You know, Dre, I mean, I'm looking at people's physiques. There's a residual, there's something on the back end of this for everybody. And like Skip said, you're never going to get paid enough to, you know, you're never going to get no amount of money that's going to make up for all the blood, sweat, and tears in the gym.
Hey, guys, before we wrap up, let me introduce another good friend of mine, Desmond Bain from Jamaica. Can we put him on the screen? Desmond, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
There we go. Hey, Mr. Bahamas.
Yes, Bahamas, not Jamaica, Bahamas.
Mr. Bahama himself tuned in with us, Desmond Bain. Desmond, what's going on? Sorry, man, we had a hard time getting you through, but share with the viewers some real quick. We got Mike Francois on, we got Darrick, we got Skip LaCour, we got Andre Ewing, the Beast, second Beast next to me. Dre, I'm going to throw you down. Tell me a little bit about, let the viewers know about you in a quick promo on your journey into bodybuilding and so forth.
First of all, I wanted to apologize for coming into the Zoom meeting, rather late, but able to listen to you guys, and I am so familiar with what you guys are dealing with. I came into the bodybuilding business at the age of 40. I started off doing masters, and actually Andre Crayton was my first trainer.
Oh, wow.
Boom!
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah, he won.
Coming into the sport early, I realized that a lot of money was coming out of my pocket, and no money coming in. So, my wife and I, we used the bodybuilding to promote a business, which we started a outdoor gym back in the Bahamas that was very successful. We trained over 1,000 people a year because we realized no money was coming from the sport itself. So we had to find a way to make money for ourselves, selling supplements and just giving advice and taking people shopping in a food store, charging them for that also, just kind of promoting ourselves, because we couldn't look to the president of the Bodybuilding Federation. We couldn't look to nobody to do that because all the money was coming out of our pocket going into the federation. So at an early stage in our career, we realized that we have to market ourselves and promote ourselves and make money for ourselves, because the shows that we did back there in the Bahamas, the people would come to us and tell us that the reason that they're there in the seats is because they wanted to see us, my wife and I, but we wasn't getting nothing in our pocket. So I had to hey, how can I make this work for me? You know what I'm saying? How do I make this work? I use it as a stepping stone, as a platform to promote a gym. And that's how I made it work for me.
Before we wrap up, I want to first say I appreciate you guys being here. We can go on and on and on about the sport, the positive and the negatives that has happened, and that how it has. You know what? I'm gonna rephrase that, because what has happened from this sport is we have learned from one another. We have seen each other's struggles. We know that there's flaws. We know that, and that's what we're probably here to address. I'm going to do a segment called the Expendables, where I'm going to constantly try to get the message out that a sport that we clearly love needs some addressing, and hopefully you guys that are on the show will come back and we can continue to do this quest with other bodybuilders to make it a sport that we clearly love and we embrace. Dre, let me give shouts out to Dre, because we're going through a whole lot right now with social injustice and stuff. And I want to take my hat off to Dre, because he is a police officer. He's been a police officer. And, I say my prayers for you every day, brother. Trust me, because there's always some bad apples in the bunch. And you're more than just my brother in the gym. You also the protector of people's lives. Before we go away, I'm gonna let each one of you guys give a positive message to the world and give them some uplift on how we need to move forward in a positive beast state of mind. Let's start with my boy Dre.
First of all, thank you, Brother Dre. I appreciate you for having the courage to even start a show like this, to have the courage to move forward, have the courage to just show the world on a different level of all the issues of being real and showing that beast mentality. Even when we first met, you were what I call one of the brothers who acknowledged me in the gym, in the back of the room, and said, "Hey, man, you got an awesome physique. Let's talk." And we met each other in that process, and look, years later, even though we did not have, say, that contact, we still had that connection.
Right.
And here we are today, you know, and God can always use something, and ignite a firestorm from just that process. So thank you. So just to leave people with a positive note, and me even being in law enforcement for 25 years, is still, you can make a difference. That even though I'm wearing this uniform, don't look at the uniform, look at me as a person. So whatever comes out of my mouth can make an impact immediately.
Right.
So I tell people, you know, be very conscious of what you say, because that can be your last words that people remember.
Damn, that's tight. Mike, tell me something we can leave for the viewers, my buddy.
First of all, Dre, I commend your service, man. It's I trained several police officers in all different walks, and every day, you know, I tell them when we're done, you know, be safe, be careful, and you just never know. And I have so much it chokes me up, honestly, to talk about it. I just have so much admiration for that, and so I just want people to respect that too. Respect the law, respect these guys who go out and put their life on the line, their families who worry every day, I'm sure, and that's my message. Just you know, be kind and do the right things and respect each other, and especially respect the rule of law.
Okay, Skip, tell me what we need to leave with.
I have to, you know, commend Dre too, and you know, I see everything going on, and you know, there's a human being right there, you know, that has a family to come home to, and you know, just that amount of commitment for us that you're doing and taking all that. I wish everybody could kind of see that, but yeah, I really commend what you have to do, especially during these times. You know, one thing is that, you know, you talk about, you know, how to tie this all together. There are many times where I just, I hate it, the amount of focus I put into bodybuilding, even though it looks admirable on the outside, right? And it's all about how do you make your challenges, or you just have to find a way to make it work. And there's always a way to make it work. One thing I do is I help men get in shape at this age. They're not bodybuilders. They don't even know me from the bodybuilding magazines.
Right.
They just kind of look me up, you know, on the internet. Hey, older guys, this guy helps older guys. And it just kind of works. You know, as we have a bond, all right, our journey, all right, for a lot of reasons. But I just tell you, when we get older, I deal with guys who have all the money that you can imagine, because that's where we focus on bodybuilding. They focus on mastering, you know, money. So they have this, maybe they have the relationships, things that we don't have. And I'll tell you, I don't care who you are. You got to go take out that beast in you, because your challenge you is real. It may be different. You can't compare yourself to, and whatever happens to us, there is a way to make it work for us. And we see people, and it's just our job to make our work, all the good and the bad and everything. All right. You know, maybe, you know, like I said, all of us right here, we have a commodity that other people admire and want, and we can give them that value and make whatever work, give them what they want and get everything we want. There is a way, no matter what's happened to you. And that's my message.
Okay. Desmond, give me something.
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Dre, I really appreciate your service and what you do. And man, I will pray for you now that I've had a chance to meet you and your family, for your safety and for the Lord to cover you. And just chiming in this meeting, I realized that you guys have a lot of information to give to the sport. You guys have the blueprint. You know, we've been through it. We know it in and out, and could really, from all the things everyone's been saying, I know we could really, really make a difference. Because, like I said, there's a blueprint. We know that after it's all done, you know, all we have left is our bodies, you know. But every day I wake up, I go out into the world, I always make it a point guys, I always make it a point to go out and chase positivity, because there's so much negative things right now in the world on social media, on TV. I chase positivity, and I always try to help somebody every day and make somebody's day a better day, and just make someone smile and just be as helpful and kind as I can be in this world. Every single day I walk out my door. That's my 5 cents.
Darrick, give me something, Darrick.
Let me say, Dre, you being a cop, man, it's nothing but respect, because one thing people got to understand, to be a cop, you got to have a certain amount of courage, no matter how weak you are as a person, as far as like the bad apples. Right. You know what I mean? You got strong, men and women that, sacrifice themselves for the peace of us. You know what I mean? So I always respect that. I commend that. I almost became a police officer. I want to be FBI, CIA. I want to do something, right? Right. But I think that what bodybuilding has shown me and has given me in my journey is that perseverance. Being able to push through. We've all been in that situation where you got to get that last rep or that last set, or you don't feel like doing legs that day, or you don't feel like training. You don't feel like cooking that next chicken breast. You know what I'm saying? You don't because there's a huge amount of sacrifice, but with that sacrifice comes reward, and it's self-gratifying in the sense that when you compete and do a show, even if you don't win, it's still gratifying in that sense. But I think in these times, we just need to persevere. The election just got over with. It's going to be a long road ahead for the world and for the country. But I think that us as individuals, we gotta keep being that beacon. Because being a bodybuilder, man, I think that oftentimes people that inspires people, right. And it makes people aspire to look like you, be like you, to have that discipline like you. To like I remember my father. I'm gonna leave you with this. My father asked me one time. We were at like a place for my daughter. It was a birthday party, and my father came up to me. My father don't really talk to me that much. You know what I mean? So he said, hey man, how's it feel to walk in a room and be the only one that looks like you? And I said, I was like, I never really thought about it. Right. And I said, but he said, because what comes with that, it comes the comments, the stares, the pointing, somebody wants to take a picture with you, things like that. But with all that comes a positive side. Right. And that's who we are as individuals in this world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's a positive. Oftentimes, the social injustice, very like with police officers, they normally respect bodybuilders because normally you big and they look up to you. Or look, it's funny because real quick is that we were in Burger King one time and 2 cops were standing in front of us and they were smaller cops, right? And my daughter was like 4 at the time, and she looked at me and then looked at them. And then looked back at me, and she says, "Dad, you bigger than them." and so I was like, I looked at them, and they looked at me and gave me the thumbs up. Yeah. But it's one of those things. So bodybuilding, like I said, it's residual. It has rewards that often not only come to you, but it comes to others because people aspire. You inspire. You encourage people. It creates dialogue. It creates pathways for us to connect. We've all connected. Like I said, I was a fan of Skip. I was a fan of Mike. I'm a fan of Dre now. I'm a fan of Desmond now. I've always been a fan of Dre, although I used to crush him in shows all the time because I was bigger than he was. But it connects us. It connects everybody. So I think we all need to persevere, push through, and be and just be the best possible version of ourselves when we come out in this world.
With that said, this has been a great show. We're gonna do this once a month where we have the Expendables on and and we talk about this sport. It's almost bringing me into tears because it seems just like yesterday we was all competing and we just share such a camaraderie together. It's almost like I really didn't wish we had to stop competing. With that said, Mike, we're going to post at the end of the show everything about your show. Skip, we're going to post up information on how to contact you. The same thing with Dre. I want to give a special shout out before we go because Desmond came in late. And Desmond, I'm pretty sure I speak for all of us in the masses. Let me explain to you what Desmond went through real quick before we go off. Freeport, Bahamas went through a massive hurricane about 2 years ago, the news downplayed it really bad. And I'm gonna try not to cry because this pisses me off because that's not only my friend, it's like my brother. I knew his kids.
Yep.
When that man called me, when I heard this, I reached out to him. And I remember Desmond telling me, he said, Dre, if it had rained one more day, we would have died. They was up in their attic. And he said, Dre, bodies are floating down the street, right in front of my house. It made me sick. But as a friend, whatever he needed, I made sure. He said, Dre, I can't even afford water. I'm like, hey, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm going to send you what I got. Get your family some water. Get to the United States. He is now here in Chicago, redoing his life. He said something to me the other day, and I'm pretty sure you don't mind me sharing it. You know, we live in a time where we need to fucking wake up and look out for our fellow man. This man lost everything, could have lost his life. He sees friends, family members floating down the fucking water. And our news played it down. He's reinserted his life, thank God, back in Chicago, trying to redo his life. But I'm gonna tell you what hurt me more than anything is when he called me and he said, Dre, I reached out to who was supposed to be his friends, didn't even reach out to see if he was okay. His pride was so strong that he didn't want to reach out to people. I'm here to tell you now with the guys that are on the show from Mike, and I know I speak for Mike and the rest of the guys, whatever you need, brother, moving forward, you got friends here. You got a fraternity here. Whatever you need, don't be afraid to reach out to us to help you get back on your feet. Okay?
Yes, sir.
You mean the world to me, man. I love you. And I can just imagine what it must be like because you're from the Bahamas and now you have to reinsert your family back over here. And being a man, that's hard to ask people for something. But what I cannot stand is your friends should have came to you and asked you what you need. You shouldn't have had to go to them. So with that said, if you need something, we're here. I'm gonna put the information up on how everybody can reach these remarkable men. Dre, thanks for being on the show. Skip, thanks for being on the show. Mike, my boy, thanks for being on the show. Make sure you guys go to the Mike Francois show. It's been around for years. It's still going strong. We're going to put some information up about the Mike Francois show. We're going to put information up at the end of the show about Skip. Skip, you're making men stay strong as well as females. Dre, keep keeping us safe out there. And Darrick, keep doing what you do on that stage and staying young and being a motivating factor. With that said, thanks for watching the Andre The Beast Crayton show. Tune into another episode. Thanks, guys.